to record today's session, so you'll be able to go back and reference and access this recording also. So you'll be mindful about the way that you're phrasing some of the questions or any information you might share with us. For today's session, when we send out an invitation to you guys, we actually send out a guest link so that you can just click on the link and you don't have to log into Blackboard. But for part of this demonstration, we are going to show you how these tools integrate. So if you aren't logged into Blackboard and you are comfortable navigating multiple tabs, it might be a good idea to just open up a second tab and log into Blackboard. You've got plenty of time to do it. We're not going to be focusing on that part of the session until a little bit later. Mark had some announcements about our Lightboard, and we actually have two new part-time employees, Caleb and Reginald. I'm going to let Mark introduce the Lightboard to everybody, and then I'm going to let Caleb and Reginald introduce themselves before we start today's session. Mark?
Yeah, we just wanted to announce to everybody we have the Lightboard. Everybody can actually go ahead and sign up to use it. Tool to use, and we can actually walk you through and give you a little tutorial the first time. But it's designed, the whole studio is designed to be super simple for instruction. You basically go in, you hit one button that turns everything on, you put a flash drive in, then you hit a record button, you do whatever you want, and then all you have to do is hit the stop recording, take your flash drive, and when you walk out the door, you hit the one button that turns everything off. So it's an instructor to create a video with very little overhead. So it's a very kind of seamless process, and we're kind of happy to walk. And actually, I do have a link. Hold on one second. We can actually show you something. Hey, Ashley. If I sent you a link, could you share your screen? My internet connection's a little weak, so I'm worried people wouldn't see it well on mine.
Sure.
And you can only show like maybe 30 seconds of this little, give everybody an idea what the Lightboard looked like if you made a video. But I just sent that to you, so you should have that link if you wanted to share your screen.
Did you send it to me via email?
Yeah, via email.
Give me 1 second so I can.
But Sarah and Vicky Vanderveld have been using it quite a lot. So they've actually produced some great videos, and we have just a little snippet of Sareka using the Lightboard. But it is a fantastic and easy tool to use, and it's very familiar for instructors because basically you're just using a whiteboard. It just happens to be a see-through whiteboard.
And you don't even have to learn.
It's loading for us.
There we go.
Is the voltage measured between points A and B, and that, as you can see here, 4 volts, because that's the voltage across the resistor. Now, from our previous discussion and previous videos, we said VAB can be also calculated as VA minus VB, which essentially means if I know the voltage at point A with respect to ground, and if I know the voltage at point B with respect to ground, I can take the difference between the two, and that gives me the potential difference or voltage difference between the 2 points here that are mentioned in this double subscript notation. So VA minus VB here gives us 10 volts minus 6 volts, which gives us 4 volts.
Yeah, so that's kind of enough to get an idea of what you can do. Jumpy on mine because my internet connection is weak, but it's very a nice polished video if you see it in person.
Reginald, Caleb, did you guys want to take a quick second to introduce yourselves and what you're doing with us?
Sure. Hey everybody. Name's Caleb. I'm here to help with Lightboard and any questions y'all might have. Um, I've gotten pretty good at editing videos, so I'd love to help y'all edit some videos. Send me email anytime. I'll get my email out to y'all, and maybe we can arrange some times to meet and work things out and create some really cool stuff with that Lightboard. I'm really excited to work with y'all with that. So, and go ahead, Reginald.
Reginald, it looks like you're muted.
How's that?
There we go.
Okay, I said good morning, everybody. I'm Reginald Powell, one of the newest employees with the Distance Education Department. I do a lot of the designs and laying out design figures and also help with the help desk. I'm happy to be a part of the team and looking forward to doing whatever is required or necessary to make things better and to be able to help everyone at Augusta Tech.
All right, great. Cameron, did you have any announcements you wanted to make before we started? All right, so
I sent out everything in the newsletter yesterday. So if you want to know what we're doing in distance ed, look at the newsletter from yesterday.
all right, guys, so if you'll give me a quick second, I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can follow along. In case you are an avid note taker, which I absolutely understand, I'm that same copy of everything that I'm going to share with you already available for you. If you log into Blackboard and you click into your DEIR class, it's under the third folder. And then there's an item labeled Blackboard Tool, so it's in the folder labeled Qwickly there. All right, so what exactly is Qwickly and why should you be even the least bit interested in it? We all know the amount of reporting that teachers are asked to do. And so Qwickly is one of those things that can make the reporting responsibility a little bit easier by automatically integrating with your Blackboard rosters to provide a space for you to take attendance. Blackboard actually has two different attendance tools. So we have the Qwickly tool, and then Blackboard has a built-in attendance tool. And each of the tools comes with their own benefits. So if you're interested in the Blackboard attendance tool, if you'll click under course tools, it's that fourth item under attendance. And some of the benefits of that tool is it automatically can take attendance for a collaborate session and upload who's been there or not. It can mark people late, things like that. If you're interested in adding the Qwickly tool, there are actually two ways to do it. We're going to show you at the end. Now, one of the advantages I think of using the Qwickly attendance tool is Qwickly allows students to self-report, which might be very useful if you're teaching a class face-to-face. Qwickly will also keep a record of students who have been disabled in your class. So that Blackboard tool is synced to Blackboard, and if students drop from the Blackboard class, they're no longer on your roster. With Qwickly, you have the option of leaving them on the roster should be useful for reporting something like an attendance or a withdrawal date, or maybe something that's being asked by another office. So here's what this tool is actually going to look like when you set it up. And so the very first time you launch Qwickly, it'll ask you if you want to begin a setup series. If you click out of that, that's totally okay. It's not a big deal. You get the option to go back and look at it at any time. So this is a fake class. And right now in this class, I have Caleb and Reginald enrolled as students. And what this is doing is going, hey, would you like to submit attendance for today, which I've already done. Once you've submitted attendance, you can click this attendance record, and it will keep a copy of every person who's enrolled in the class and whether you've marked them present or absent in the course. So as you can see, Caleb right now is leading the pack with having shown up 2 days. Cameron, notice that there's no attendance for Cameron, and that's because I actually have Cameron disabled in this class. So if I was to look in my grade book, I would see that she's not there. And that might be the kind of situation where a student is enrolled during the first couple of days of the class. Maybe they drop after the drop add period, but they've done an assignment. And then Reginald has been here just for today's class. So this sort of gives you a really great, easy overview. One of the things I like about Qwickly is if I ever needed to send this to anyone, if it's in Blackboard, you can just click in Blackboard and see it, but there's also this option to export Qwickly. When you export it, it does export as an Excel spreadsheet. It keeps track of the date and the time that you took attendance, and so it's really easy to kind of shrink that down into a single page to be able to preserve for your records or potentially share with another stakeholder at the college who may need to see this information. I cannot share my screen and see the chat, so if you have a question, please feel free to interrupt, because if I start bouncing back and forth between screens, I'm going to be honest, I will sincerely confuse myself. So I wanted to show you inside of the DEIR class, one of the potentially really useful things you can do with Qwickly in the pandemic environment that we're dealing with. So if you want to access this, you don't have to. If you look inside of our DEIR class, we've been doing a little bit of reorganization. And so if you click on the classroom tab, and then you scroll down to that third folder, and I do believe the third folder is labeled like professional development sessions or something of that nature. Let me close a couple of these tabs so we can move faster. There we go. Yeah, it's professional development and tutorials. And then the very top folder in here is labeled Blackboard tools. And then Qwickly should be the top folder there. That's where you'll find a copy of all the materials that we're going over today, some quick guides if they're useful for you, and you'll find an example of a Qwickly demo. So I know that one of the things that we're all worried about is, contact tracing, making sure we have an accurate record, and making sure students are agreeing to the college's statements regarding the coronavirus. So as you can see here, this is an example of what a student would see in Blackboard when it's time for them to take the attendance. And what I've done in this case is I've clicked this tools option, I've gone over to more tools, and I've set up this cool tool called Qwickly Attendance 2. When you set that up, all it's going to do is give you a link. It's going to look very much like this. I named it Qwickly Attendance Example because I wanted it to be clear in that class what it was. And then what I did was I just copied and pasted the content from those sign-in sheets that are in the forms repository into this box. So by checking in, a student is agreeing that they are voluntarily choosing to participate in that class or lab setting. And so if you're a person like me, I'm really bad at keeping up with pieces of paper. If you were looking at the videos before the session started, you saw me bouncing back and forth trying to make sure I could find things. This is a way for me to not have to keep those papers. Students are going to check in here. My attendance records are going to be kept here. And by checking in, they're already agreeing to these statements. So I'm not going to have them signing their name on a separate sheet of paper. So I actually wanted to give you guys the opportunity to see what those check-in options look like. And the check-in options are really very specific. So if you're a person who just kind of needed an overview of what Qwickly is or what it looks like, now might be a good time for you to kind of dip out. If you're very interested in hey, how do I set this up? What does it look like? That's what the bulk of today's session is going to cover. So you have a lot of attendance options with Qwickly that I want to go over with. And the first one that I really want you guys to be able to see is the different ways that you can submit attendance. So I know I sort of go through as an instructor what I call phases with attendance, where the very first couple of weeks of class, I have to have that banner roster in my hand. I have to make notes on the banner roster while I'm learning my students. And those points, I don't want them to self-check in. I don't want them to sign a sheet. I want to say their name out loud. I want to hear them say, "This is me," so that I can connect a face to a name. So the first option you have to take attendance is something that looks like this. And what would happen if you were doing this in a classroom is you'd log into Blackboard, you would click as the instructor on the Qwickly button, and you would see something like this. And this is just a roster that's showing me, hey, do I want to mark Caleb as absent for today? Do I want to mark Reginald as present? And when I'm finished, I can click submit, and that will export that to my attendance record. So that's really useful when I'm learning, I'm putting a face to a name. As the semester progresses, though, maybe I need to get set up for class. Maybe I have 12 videos I'm trying to pull up for like little quick clips. Maybe I'm trying to set up my PowerPoint. And what I really want is students to just be able to check themselves in. Qwickly has that option for you as well. So when you click under your settings, you'll see that there are several styles that students can check in. With a list, that's what I just showed you. I see everyone in the class on a single screen. I mark them present, absent. With the one by one, I would see each individual student's name on the screen, and I would have to click through the items on the roster. The accessibility mode is just like the list. The only difference is the accessibility mode is designed to be used with just the keyboard and not with the mouse. Then there's this check-in option, and this is actually where I think Qwickly has a whole lot of potential. So with the check-in option, you get a couple of options to choose from. You can require a PIN, and what that does is it sets up a situation where the students come into the classroom, you have the PIN displayed on the board. You can either write it on the board or you can just share your screen with them. And they will log into that same area in Qwickly. They'll type the 4-digit PIN in and they'll be marked present for the day. That's really useful if you want to do something with where you don't want students to just log in from the McDonald's parking lot, say they were there, and then not have shown up for class. So requiring that PIN means they need to be in a situation where you can see them to get that PIN. And I will tell you, I used Qwickly in my own classrooms for about 3 years, and I think the kind of default question we want to ask is, well, aren't they just going to text the PIN to each other? In 10 years or in 3 years, it was never a problem for me. People were not texting the PIN to each other. The other thing that you can do to kind of avoid that is you can actually put a timer on the PIN. If you automatically launch the PIN, students get 15 minutes from the time you launch it to physically show up, enter that PIN in. If you want to put a timer on it, they see a countdown timer. So when a student clicks on that Qwickly option, they see something that looks like this. So at the top, they see this check-in button where if they click to check in, they'd be marked as present. If excuse me, if you have a PIN on there, they're going to see a box to type the PIN number in. And once they've typed the PIN in, they'll get a green check mark letting them know that they've been marked present. And so as you can see here, Qwickly has kept a record of the dates. A title would be the title of the session. So sometimes when I'm creating my Qwickly rosters, the first 3 days of the semester, I'll just label those as the drop add period. So I'll know that those might be times where students were adding or dropping classes, because I try not to penalize students for things like that. Status tells them whether they're present or not. This comment section is actually a place where you can leave them notes if you want to. So to go back to my sample Qwickly roster, on this roster, you can see that there are some of these little check boxes, right? Those are places where I've made notes. So if I click on that, this is set as a private note. That means Caleb can't see it. And on this day, Caleb was out with the flu. So I just want to make a record of, hey, he wasn't here. He told me what was going on. This box represents a note where a student missed a test. So let's say I want to remind Reginald of that. I can just switch that to visible to students, missed a test. And what's going to happen is under this comment section, Reginald is going to see, hey, I missed a test. So that can kind of be useful to help students initiate the conversations with you. Instead of having the, did I miss anything? Here's what you missed. It's right there. Come talk to me about when you're able to make this up, or if you're trying to do an alternative assignment, something to let me know what's going on. Speaking of attendance and absences, probably one of the most useful tools with Qwickly is actually this absence email option. So let's say I know that students are, if you weren't here this week, you've missed group presentations. Well, I can set Qwickly to automatically email students who are absent to let them know what they've missed or to let them know what they need to reference. And so when you set Qwickly up initially, it defaults to a no option. It doesn't give them anything. If you switch it to yes, it will actually give you kind of a draft message that does have the specific date and course. You can delete or alter this in any way you like. But, when I taught, I left it to say, hey, you've missed class today. Please know that attendance in my class is important. You need to go look under the Start Here tab, check the syllabus so that you can get a copy of what you missed. Let me know when you're able to stop by my office so we can get you back on the right track. And something as simple as that going out to them lets them know that absence was relevant. It's not that you didn't miss anything. And, it definitely decreased the amount of students who were coming to me before class going, what did I miss? Or did I miss anything? Or my favorite question of all, did we do anything important? Yes, we did something important. Here's where you can go and look to get a copy of that information. So I want to stop very quickly right now because I did ask you guys if you got the chance to log into Blackboard to give you the opportunity to see what this experience looks like for students. So if you have the chance to, please log in to DEIR. That should be under your course list in Blackboard. And when you log into DEIR, on the left side of the screen over here, you're going to see a tab that says Attendance Demo. So if you want to see how students would experience this, you can go ahead and click on that attendance demo option. I'm going to go in and I'm going to set up a pin, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes to get into DEIR, to click on that area, and to enter in the pin. And I'm going to share the pin on my screen with you now. So the pin is 1378. I lied. I'm giving you 12 minutes. I thought I'd set it for 5. So if you want to see what this looks like, click on that area, type in 1378, and you'll be marked present for the day. And if anybody asks you, hey, did you get this random email from Distance Ed? You can tell them, no, I didn't get it because I went to the Qwickly training. So everyone who isn't here and who isn't marked as present today is going to get an automatic email from us that says, hey, you missed out on a really cool Qwickly training session today. We hope you can make it to our next professional development session. Cameron, could you do me a favor and type this pin into the chat so that I don't create the ripple effect of logging back in and out? So the final thing that I wanted to make sure people kind of saw about the Qwickly attendance options under these settings has to do with gradebook integration. I'm going to preface this with you should be very mindful about whether or not you want to award credit for attendance. I'm not in a position to tell you how to run your class or what's right or wrong, but be open and honest with students about this and be mindful of how you frame this language to them. So underneath the Qwickly settings, there is an option to do what's called a grade center integration. Qwickly defaults to not integrating into your gradebook, but you do have 2 options should you want to give students credit for attendance. So you can give them total points. Total points is going to create an average system. So however many days you have that your class is scheduled to meet, it's going to give them a percentage credit based on when they're attending. So if you have, 10 class sessions and they are only there for 5 of those 10 sessions, they're going to get a 50% for attendance. You can also award points per session, meaning every day you get here, this is how many points that you get. And even if you choose not to integrate this into their overall average, it does have enormous potential. I taught humanities for a long time. I only gave my students essay tests. You can imagine how thrilled they were about that experience. And almost every single semester, first test, I'd have people come and ask me, do you grade on a curve? And my answer was always no, I don't grade on a curve. But one semester, I had a student who actually asked me a pretty poignant question. She said, I'm here every day, I'm taking notes, I'm doing my best. does that count for nothing? And I didn't want her to be discouraged. So I said, you know what, I'll tell you what, I won't grade on a curve, but every lecture that you are here for between the day we start covering this content and the day you take a test, I'll give you a half point on the test for. That was not enough points to make a tremendous difference in those students' grades. If you had a 50 on that test, the 2 points that you were getting from being there for 4 sessions was not going to bump you up to a passing grade. But if you were a student who was sitting at a 68, who was, really giving this your all and you were struggling, and the 4 days that you showed up for class bumped you up to a 70, that made a difference to those students. People were there. They were on time. They were logged in and ready to go. And I didn't have an issue with people getting there and then wanting to wait to log into the computers. They were there, logged into Blackboard, ready to click on links because they wanted those half points. And so by using this grade center integration, I didn't have to calculate that because, again, I have a background in humanities and English, so math is not my favorite thing. By the same token, you can give students, or you can keep a record of students' absences. Now, I'm not sure why you would want to give students credit for being absent, but if you wanted to integrate that into your gradebook, you could as well. And regardless of whether you integrate this into your gradebook or not, when you choose to export a Qwickly attendance record, it will show you the total number of absences and the total number of sessions a student was marked present for. So that can be very useful when you're having those conversations with students. Like if a student is coming by and saying, hey, why am I failing your class? Sometimes a really good place to start is, well, how much have you been here for my class? Thanks for checking in with me, Jason. And so let me go back to this example. So when I look at this attendance record, which is just a sample attendance record, I have this currently set up as a gradebook integration. So with this point system, the maximum number of points a person's going to get for attendance is 100. And because Caleb has been here for 2 sessions, he's gotten a 66%. And I've got that 1 absence recorded for him. So this can be a good place to start that conversation of, hey, you've only been here 50% of the time, which means you're only getting 50% of the information that we're covering that, is helping you to prepare. I need to see something different about this attendance so we can see these grades go up. And if you're curious as to what this looks like in the gradebook, it literally just appears as a column at the very end of your gradebook. I want to make sure I'm showing you guys the correct class, so just give me one quick second. Well, I would have liked to show it to you. It looks like I might not have the opportunity to. Oh, wait, there we go. So if I wanted students to be able to see this, here's what their attendance is going to look like. So it's showing Caleb, hey, you've got a 66% for attendance. You've got a 50% for attendance, Reginald. And so what they're seeing when they look in the grade book and what they see when they actually click on the Qwickly link are going to be different. If you're asking, hey, where do they see those points, or excuse me, where do they see those notes? They would see the notes when they clicked on the attendance button. They'd see every day they'd been marked present, every day they'd been marked absent, and any notes that you've left for them regarding their attendance. So the last thing I'd like to show you before we take questions about this is, the potential options you have to mark on how you're going to record people's attendance. So some instructors really do, value, hey, you were tardy, you're getting partial credit for today. And that was a system that I did experiment with when I used Qwickly. There were times where I told students, if you're not here within the 10 minutes that the pen is going in, then I'm marking you as absent. You can imagine how well that was received. And so I very quickly changed that, where I was like, you're here on time, ready to go, you're getting full credit. If you're more than 10 minutes late, I'm only giving you partial credit. And so the way that you can kind of change how many points you're giving people for attendance, or whether you're recording tardies, is at the bottom. This is called an attendance status. Qwickly defaults to present, absent, and excused. And so if you wanted to add a status, you can just click on this option. You do have to give an order number. I've all kind of clicked the number 4. I'm going to add in a pending. A person who's pending is going to get 50% of the points. So that means if I have a session and I'm giving 1 point for every session, a person who gets a pending status is only going to get 50 points. And I'm going to change this to a yellow color just so I can differentiate. I'm going to try and change it to yellow color. There we go. And so when I add the status in, I'm now going to have the option to mark people as pending. So what this will do, let's say I want to go back to my attendance record. And so maybe Reginald came in late on this day. I can now go in and change his status to pending, tell him, see me to make up. And so now Reginald is going to be noted that, hey, I haven't been marked absent, but I do need to go talk to her if I want to make up this missed test. And so again, those are options for you. You don't have to add those things in. This is really about what works best for you. So just to kind of summarize very quickly for you, you have the attendance record, which you can export into your an Excel file for your records. You have multiple options about how you want that attendance to look, whether you like a list 1 by 1 or you want students to enter in their attendance first. These preferences show you whether you want the gradebook to display the oldest dates first or the newest dates first. You have the option to integrate into the gradebook. This is the setting where you would enter in the pins. If you would like students to receive an absence email, you have that option. If you would prefer that they not get that message, you can click that to no. And then you have the opportunity to change your statuses to suit the ways in which you take attendance. So at this point, I'm going to stop us. I'm going to bounce back over to the chat. And if you want to unmute yourself, you can. If you want to use the chat. Does anybody have any questions about Qwickly, about how to use it or what resources are available to you?
I just want to mention that probably when people, well, Tammy just put it in the chat there, people on their syllabus are counting participation towards a grade. And so you could change the gradebook column name and Qwickly to say participation so that it aligns with what's on the syllabus.
And I absolutely 100% agree with that. Like, that's what I'm saying. You want to be very careful about how you frame that to students, because we say we're not an attendance checking or an attendance reporting school, but we are an attendance checking school. And whatever you're telling them you're recording, that's what you want the gradebook to reflect. So if you're calling it participation, definitely put it in there as participation. If you're calling it attendance, I would say see your dean, because they probably have some thoughts and feelings about that. But you do have control over what it looks like and what the students see. Any other questions about Qwickly? So I do want to reemphasize for you, in the same place that you entered in the Qwickly pin in Blackboard, or where I showed you where that sample statement was at, we have a bunch of Qwickly resources there for you. Cameron has a really great screencast that's available there for you. We have step-by-step directions that you can print out if you want to export your Qwickly gradebook, or if you need any help reformatting it so it looks like a little bit cleaner Excel spreadsheet. If you have questions about changing, the dates, times, statuses, all that content is inside of the EIR for you already. So the final thing that I wanted to hit on before we let you guys go was, we have a couple of surveys that we could absolutely use your help on. We would love your feedback on what kinds of sessions you would like to see in the future. And so at the beginning of today's session, I placed a link in the chat, and I'm just going to repaste it for you now. if you could take a few minutes to go in and tell us, hey, are you more interested in webinars? Would you like self-paced tutorials or workshops? What subjects you guys are interested in seeing training on? We would absolutely love to hear back from you on that. We do offer 2 of these sessions a month to help you fulfill your objective 2 professional development and to stay up to date on what's going on in distance education and with online learning. Cameron, Mark, do you guys have anything that you want to add?
No, I'm good.
Me either. That was great information.
All right, guys, so if you have questions, we're going to hang out for the remainder of the time. If you want to try and set this up in one of your classes and bounce back and forth between us, I'm here to answer any questions or guide you through it. If you don't have any questions, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by, and we will see you guys at our next professional development session. Be safe.
Thank you, Ashley. It was great. Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Mark. Thank you all.
Bye, Sahir. See you later.
See you. Thank you very much. I like it. It was wonderful.
Me too.